Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Hello everybody, this is Douglas Block, your depression recovery counselor and the Depression Recovery Channel. It is December 31st, 2017. Happy New Year's everyone, or Happy New Year's about to happen, depending on where you are. Maybe it already has happened. If anybody's tuning in Australia, it's already January 1st, 2018. So if you're in the UK, it's probably 8 p.m. and people are already starting to party. At any rate, waiting for our first guest to come. So far, nobody, but I'm not quite sure why. Oh, one person. Okay, great. The system is working. So, yes, this is a really important time of the year for me and for many people because it is the beginning of a new year, a new day, and as I said in the video that I'm coming out with tomorrow, Arcade Cup, hello from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Nice to see you, the first viewer. Anyway, as I was saying, Arcade Cup, or Chad, I'm doing this video, I'm uploading it tomorrow, called Today is a New Day. And it's all about how we can start our lives over again at any point in time. That the past is not the future. And I talk about a ritual that I do called the Burning Bowl Ceremony, which I'll explain to you when more people are on board watching. It's about taking stock of the year before, deciding on what worked and celebrating the victories you had. And then number two, acknowledging the defeats or the setbacks or the struggles or the challenges. And number three, then deciding what you want to have happen for the new year. So please chime in, you guys, ask your questions, anything about depression recovery, mental health recovery, setting goals for the new year. And I wish I had the apparatus right here in front of me. I could actually demonstrate it. I didn't even thought of that. The idea of writing your what you want to let go on a piece of paper and holding it above a candle, letting it disappear. Cesar de Jesus, nice to hear from you. Constant Cop, I've been watching, having panic attacks for 3 months. I need help. Well, have you sought any medical or psychological help, Connie? I'm wondering if you have gone to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist who specializes in panic attacks. There's certainly a lot written about it, and there's certainly a lot of things you could do, both in terms of cognitive behavioral and in terms of medication. I have a video called How to Respond to a Panic Attack, but basically there are two things to do. One is behavioral, breathe deeply, tell yourself this too shall pass, and try not to panic. And the other is to take medication like Klonopin or lorazepam, just to nip the symptoms in the bud. So have you sought for help? Brian W., Happy New Year. Thank you for your support, Patreon this year. What's the best way to deal with solitude? Well, there's two types of solitude. Solitude that you're choosing, being alone with yourself, or being lonely, and that's the solitude when that hurts. So I'm not quite sure what level you're seeking, but if it's the level where you're feeling alone by yourself and there's no people around you, then I would say reaching out in whatever way you can, joining a support group, going to a meetup group, calling a friend or family member that way. How do I make it stop? I've always been racing hard. No, I haven't seen a therapist yet. Waiting on insurance. Well, yes, I know. Have you tried doing a brisk walk around the block, or have you tried just sitting down, closing your eyes, and going like this? Breathing into the count of 10, holding for the count of 2, breathing out for the count of... Actually, breathe in for the count of 4, hold for 2, breathe out for the count of 8, and hold for 2. I'll repeat that again. You breathe in for the count of 4, hold for the count of 2, breathe out for the count of 8, and hold for the count of 2. Have you tried doing that? That helps. IY, nice to see you again. Happy New Year. So that's one way, Connie. The other way is to, as I said, go walk around the block, do some brisk medication. I take it you don't have any anti-anxiety medications you can take. Do you have a good prescriber? When you get insurance, you should get two things: a therapist and somebody who can prescribe medications, like a psychiatrist or psychiatric nurse practitioner. So those are two things you want to go for. Yes, Happy New Year to you. Try breathing, it doesn't stop it. Well, that is a bummer. You know, when you go, do you have a doctor? Do you have a medical doctor? Ask him about something called propranolol. It's a blood pressure medication that slows down the heart. That is very effective in panic attacks. Of course, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to tell you what to get. I'm making a suggestion. But talk about that. You must have a general practitioner or a primary care physician. That's one medication that might help. Also, I don't know where you are, but acupuncture. I know if you get acupuncture, that really helps you relax. There's something called community acupuncture clinics that you only have to pay $15 or $20 a session. They're all over the country. Connie, what city are you in? Maybe we can do some research. Well, what about acupuncture, Connie? Hey, Pearly Bonda, hello, nice to hear from you. Cesar de Jesus says, read How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable by Albert Ellis. It's great. Yeah, book, yeah, self-help. I'm familiar with Albert Ellis. I studied him when I was in college. It's just people, you're right, Arcade Cup. What type of meds were you on, Connie? Let me know. Yeah, wow, excellent. Arcade Cup, a beautiful, beautiful thing you did. Going up to people, looking at their eye, feeling at ease. You're basically doing exposure therapy to get over social anxiety. I'm going to actually put that in a video. By the way, my friend Noah did this. If you guys email me a question, I will go ahead and answer that question on my next live chat and use your name. So, douglasblock@gmail.com, and send me any question you want me to answer on the live chat, and I'll mention your name next time and do it. Yeah, urine effects. Well, that's for depression. It's not so much for anxiety, Connie. So you may want to try something else like lorazepam or Klonopin. Again, these are benzodiazepines. You're not supposed to use them long term, but they are very good for short-term effectiveness. So you may want to try that. There's a woman named Julie Hayes who often comes on this channel. Has been on before. I don't know where she is now, but she sent me something beautiful I wanted to share with you. I always talk about here on this channel in my videos about what goes down must come up, about, you know, when you sink to a depth, that means you're going to rise to new heights. And in my book, When Going to Hell Don't Stop, I use the image of the phoenix bird rising from the ashes. So here's what she sent me. Do you see what it says? From the ashes I rise. It's a graphic she did of the phoenix bird. Isn't that amazing? Check it out one more time. Anyway, I wish Julie were here. I could thank her in person. But what do you guys think about that? It's really, really a cool image. Oh, you were in the hospital, Pearly Banda. Well, and then when you talked to me last time, you were really dealing with a lot of anxiety. How is it? Are you getting the help you need? I hope you are. Tyler Durden, you've spent 3 years without making eye contact. Well, take a tip from Arcade Cup. Maybe you can actually go up to people and just make yourself do it and just feel the feelings of discomfort and see what happens. People are really not that scary. Most people are really nice. What's the best way to deal with negative thoughts, says Brian W? Cognitive behavioral therapy. Recognize them, realize they're not rational, and replace them with something positive. You know, negative thought. I'm going to lose my job. You counter it by saying, oh, that's fortune telling. And you say, well, how do I know I'm going to lose my job? I'm doing good work. You try to refute the negative thoughts is what you do, Brian. Date app on my phone, it did help for a while, but now it's back. What do you mean by the date app, Connie? Explain what that means. You had a very bad panic attack. Well, that's what Connie's talking about. Maybe you could, you guys could chat with each other and exchange email addresses. Time for a joke. I know I mentioned this last time, but why was Santa's helper depressed? He had low self-esteem. Not bad, huh? I feel like I made my problem so obvious that once I do, everyone will be mean to me for it. I don't think so, Tyler. Give people some credit. I think people will have compassion. We've all suffered. What's my opinion of Sigmund Freud and his theory of the subconscious? I think Freud made a very important insight about the subconscious. What we are not conscious of can rule us. So I think it's important to make the subconscious conscious. I think that's what every good therapy does. I don't know if I agree with all of psychoanalysis, like penis envy and all this other stuff he talks about. A lot of it's been discredited, but the basic idea of needing to get in touch with the unconscious is right on the money. Sorry, Dare Appo. I'm not quite sure what that is. Connie, maybe that's an app you had. What did the doctor say to the patient who came with a really bad case of diarrhea? Let it run its course. Another joke. So, why is it important in the new year to really release the old before you can let in the new? The reason is because as long as your mind is being crammed full of negative thoughts and worries and, you know, things telling yourself it will never get better, it's hard to let a sense of hope and optimism come in. There's a famous story. Connie Cobb says, Pearl, I feel the same way. I just wanted to stop. Yeah, well, you two have the same kind of thing you're going through, this panic. I know. I've never had a panic attack, but I've had severe agitation. It's extremely, extremely, extremely uncomfortable and hellish. Oh, the Dare app. Well, Mike Bordner, good jokes today, Doug. Yes, Mike from Pennsylvania, one of my Patreon supporters. By the way, I do want to thank everybody who has given to Patreon during the month of December. I have now 21 patrons. In case you don't know what I'm referring to, this is a fundraising website, a crowdfunding website, where I'm raising some money to go ahead and produce all the videos I do. I do one every week. I have over 210 videos up on my YouTube channel, and these cost money to produce, to prepare, to edit, and that's what the Patreon account is. I'm going to go ahead and give you the website if you want to go visit it. www.patreon.com/Douglas Block. Please go check out the site if you want to. There's also a super chat button at the bottom here, $sign. If you click on that, you can make a small contribution to what we're doing and help get these videos out and keep this channel going. So Brian W. says, Douglas, do you think that anxiety and depression are primarily caused by negative thoughts or biological issues? Well, there was a popular advertisement when I was growing up many, many years ago on television about a candy called Certs, C-E-R-T-S. I don't even know if it exists anymore. So there are two twins, two twin blonde-haired gals in their 20s on the screen. And one gal says, Certs is a candy mint. And then the other gal says, Certs is a breath mint. The first gal says, Certs is a candy mint. The second gal says, Certs is a breath mint. Then their mother comes up, another blonde, slightly older woman, says, stop, you're both right. Certs is a candy mint and a breath mint. So you're both right. Depression is caused by biological programming and negative thoughts. So they work hand in hand, synchronistically, in a kind of a vicious cycle. So Brian W., when people are born with a pessimistic temperament, which you inherit from your parents, you are more likely to think negatively and stay there. So that's where they meet. However, even if you have a positive upbringing, you could still fall prey to negative thoughts if you don't watch it. So it's the interaction of the two, but I would say that the biology is usually necessary for the negativity to really, get a hold of you and send you into the hospital. But both are involved. Can anxiety cause pressure in your head and ears? Yes, it can. I've heard people discuss that. I've never had them, but I've heard a lot of people say pressure in the head. Yes, it can, says Pearly Banner. You guys should search are awesome. Arcade Cup, do Certs still exist? Should I go on my phone and look them up? See if they even exist? Maybe I will. Or you can tell me. Why don't you look up on the phone for me? Do Certs candy mints exist? Well, I don't know. Let's go to Google and see what Google says right now. I'm going to type in Certs, C-E-R-T-S. So yeah, Connie and Pearl, you guys should get in touch with each other. Why don't one of you put your email address on and you can communicate with each other and help each other out. That would be really, really good. Okay, let's see what C-E-R-T-S. Let's even see if these things even come up. Oh, Certs breath mints come up. Wow, they're on Amazon.com. It's one of America's most popular mints. There you have it. It wasn't just the advertisements in the 60s. They're still around. Great, great. I'm glad that your Facebook, you've just communicated, Connie, your Facebook to Perla. That would be great. Um, yeah, and you've got your phone number there, text at any time. That's great. You two should really communicate each other and support each other and find ways and resources that you can deal with panic attacks and connect with each other. That's part of why we have these YouTube live chats, to get people to connect, to communicate. Peer support is so powerful. That's why I run these depression support groups, because of peer support. It's absolutely essential that we get help from our fellow peers, not just from the doctors, not just from the psychiatrists, not just from the nurses. They're important, professionals are important, but really peer support, people who are in the trenches with you. It's really, really, and it's free too. That's another good thing about it. It's really an essential part of the healing process, believe me. That's why Alcoholics Anonymous works. It's a peer-to-peer based program. Mike Borden, thanks for your videos, Doug. I'm happy to help you, so please continue making them for us now and those in the future. Please live forever. Laugh out loud. Well, I've thought about becoming immortal, but you know what? Mark Twain says the only thing certain is death and taxes. All right. The new year is upon us. You 16 people are on watching. State your goals. I want to know what people want to have happen for the new year. What's your intention for the new year? Are you, looking forward to 2018? Usually a bad year is followed by a good year and vice versa, not often. But I have two clients in 2016, they were on and off in the hospital. When 2017 started, they were a wreck. And now at the end of the year, they're doing so much better. One woman went through a painful divorce. She found my group in March, and since then, it's just been going up and up. Her mood went from a 2 out of 10 to like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. See, this is why I say resurrection is possible. This too shall pass. Never, never, never give up. Brian W. says, every day meditate, exercise, pray, live in the present moment, think positive. Brian W., are you able to do that every day? If you are, do so, you're a better man than I. No, in all seriousness, those are great words of wisdom. So Perla Ibana, how are they treating you in the hospital? What are they giving you for your panic attack? Probably some medication. And how long have you been there, and how long are you going to stay there? I know you've got a lot on your plate with your raising your children and, not probably having a whole lot of money. So I have great compassion for you. Those are your goals. Oh, I see. Got it. Worthwhile goals, Brian. What percent of the time are you doing them right now, do you think? I just heard this really interesting podcast on behavior change from a show called Freakonomics. These two professors of psychology at the University of Pennsylvania said, if we could teach people how to make good decisions about their behavior in terms of their food, their diet, their exercise, their smoking, their alcohol intake, we could save trillions of dollars in healthcare and improve, decrease mortality rate 10 or 20% in the United States. I completely agree with that. Yeah, Brian, I agree. Everybody should try these things. Looks like Perla Ibana1988@gmail.com. And Connie has given her address as cobb.connie09@gmail.com. Well, you both have Gmail addresses. Great. What do I think about emotional healing? Well, I think it's great. We all need emotional healing. None of us has gotten through childhood unscathed. Some of us have had more loving parents or loving caregivers than others, but even then there were some slights from our friends, teenagers. Going through teenagehood is like going through the gauntlet. So yeah, emotional healing, that's the name of the game. The more you can emotionally heal, the less medication you'll need to take, the less you'll need to turn to drugs or alcohol or smoking or other coping mechanisms. So yes, emotional healing, fantastic. That's what the job of psychotherapy is, emotional healing. Any more goals for 2018? I'm really, really interested. So I want to go back to this video I made 2 weeks ago. I just decided to put it up spontaneously. By the way, have you seen the video called A Christmas Gift That Changed My Life? I posted it on Monday, 6 days ago on Christmas Day. It was about a card my wife Joan gave to me on December 25th, 1996, that contained the most beautiful sentiments about healing and hope for recovery. I was really in a desperate place, and that made a big difference. So I kind of would suggest you watch that video, A Christmas Gift That Changed My Life. CP Sipchi, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce that. I think healing those painful emotions will release us from the suppressed emotions. Well, yeah, I think they're all kind of come one and the same. A lot of painful emotions are suppressed. because they're too painful to deal with. But if we can let them come up to be released and get some support, yes, that is the way to go. Do you think marriage causes more depression and anxiety or helps relieve it? Well, you know what Socrates said, Brian W. Brian W. asked me a very important question. Does the marriage cause more depression and anxiety, or does it help to relieve it? Well, Socrates said, marry by all means. If you have a good marriage, you'll be happy. If it's not so good, you'll become a philosopher. I wrote a couple of philosophy books. So yeah, it depends. You're talking about a double-edged sword. 50% of people who marry in the United States get divorced. What does that tell you? Half the time it relieves depression, half the time it causes it. So this is why I tell my goddaughter, who's 27, the most important decision you can make in your whole life is choosing the person you're going to marry, because a bad marriage, unhappy marriage, can just cause mood to go so far down, especially if you're subject to depression. I have a friend of mine who has a depressive temperament, whose first 2 marriages were really bad. When he came to me, he was in a bad episode getting out of the second, but now he's met a really nice gal and he's doing so much better. So yes, it makes a big difference, the quality of the person you're living with. So Pearly Bonda says they're good. They gave me some anxiety meds and I'm feeling good. Great answer, Douglas. Well, you like the Socrates quote, Brian W? Yeah, I do too. Well, Pearly Bonda, what type of medication are they giving you that's helping you? Maybe you can share that with Connie Cobb. Maybe when she goes to her doctor, she can ask for the same medication. Here's my latest book that's available. Healing from Depression, 12 Weeks to a Better Mood. I wonder how many of you have it. It's really, really a good resources, and I spent many, many years. Julie Hayes, oh my God, you're on the live chat. There you are. Thank you so much. Or I thought I saw Julie Hayes. Yeah. Hey, Julie, we spoke on the phone. Could you email me your phone number again? I was trying to get a hold of you to thank you for that gift. So here it is, Julie. You're now being acknowledged right here. From the ashes I rise. This is what Julie made for me. It's absolutely gorgeous, isn't it, guys? If I can get this thing in the camera correctly, well, you can see it, right? So, Julie, how did you get this on a piece of cardboard frame? And look what you wrote. What she wrote in there. Oh, you can't really read it. It says, "You're an inspiration to me. Thank you for sharing your experiences and knowledge." And that's interesting, Julie, because every morning I wake up and say the affirmation that my goal today is to to share my experience and knowledge of the journey of self-healing and God realization with other people. You phrased it the exact way that I phrased my affirmation. How did you know what I was saying? It's like you read my mind. Anyway, if my house is ever burning down, this is the first thing I'm going to take before photos of my family, before money, before anything, is this thing you sent me. So it's astounding. I want to know how you put it together, but I really appreciate it. I look at it every day. So how are you doing, Julie? I know you had a rough patch for a while. Got out of the hospital, you were feeling better. How's your mental health recovery now on a scale of 1 to 10? How is your mood? Sipchi says, does depression show up when we do all the things that we hate? Jobs we hate, toxic relationships? Yeah. If you do things you hate, you're going to feel bad, of course. If you put your hand on a hot stove, ouch, it's going to hurt, right? So yes, if you're doing things that you feel upset about, it's going to cause depression or unhappiness in general. That triggered Connie, but not caused. I'm not quite sure what you mean. I'm so glad you like it. Of course I like it. I love the image. And how do you get it on the wood? That's what I want to know. Hi, Douglas. I'm struggling with self-love. Any advice? Says Sarah Hall. Yeah. The $20 bill story. I'll tell you right now. Julie, let me know how you're doing, by the way. So there's a motivational speaker who went ahead, and I'd have to go get it, but I don't want to. So I know. Let's pretend my iPhone is a $20 bill right here. He held up this $20 bill and he said, "Who here in this room wants this $20 bill?" So everybody's hands went up. Me. This is a seminar I went to. Then he took the $20 bill, represented by his iPhone, and he dropped it on the floor, and he rubbed his foot into it and made it all dirty. He said, "Now who wants it?" People still raised their hand. And then he picked up the $20 and he crumpled it more in his hand and really made it into a mess. And he said, "Now who wants the $20 bill?" People still raised their hands. He said, "You've learned a very important lesson. No matter what I did to that $20 bill, it didn't diminish its worth. You still wanted it. It was the same worth at the end of my, scrunging in the ground. than when I started. You're like that $20 bill. You may be beaten up by life, beaten into the ground, dirtied up, but you're still worth $20. Don't you forget it. Your self-worth can never be diminished by anything that happens to you. So that's one way to think about self-love, is that you are a child of God, a child of spirit. Who you are is whole and perfect, and nothing that happens to you can diminish that worth. You moved 6 hours away from my comfort zone, says Connie Cobb. You mean you moved your house? You moved to a different city? I'm not quite sure what you meant. So what do you think about self-love, Sarah Hall? There's a good book called Self-Compassion. One way to practice self-love is to treat yourself right. Feed yourself good food, get enough sleep, get enough exercise, treat yourself to a massage. Do things that give you a sense of health and healing and equanimity. That's one way to deal with self-will. Who is that picture on your door? That's Ramana Maharshi, a great Indian saint. Yes, it is Sipchi. It is the great Hindu Ramana Maharshi. You can type it. Sipchi actually typed that name in correctly. So IY, if you take that name and you put it in Google, you can read all about him. There's an amazing documentary about him. He was an Indian mystic and saint who one day just sat down and started meditate. He achieved something called samadhi, which is bliss, and they built a temple right where he was sitting. Amazing story. He has the most beautiful eyes. I went last time I was here. I took the original photo and let you all see his beautiful eyes. Maybe if you want me to, I can take it down. 7-1, my wife left me and made me leave the house. It's been almost 5 months. She keeps saying she needs more time. Do I keep giving her more time, or does it sound like she's really done with me? How did she make you leave the house, 7-1? I mean, did she own the house? That's interesting. Usually it's a matter of discussion. Well, are you in therapy? Are you going to get some counseling about this? This is a difficult thing. You remember that Brian W. asked me, do marriages cause depression or help depression? Here's one case where it causes a lot of pain and grief, which leads to depression. So, it's in your own heart. Do you love this woman? Do you want to make it work at all costs? Then you should give it more time. If you really are not committed, then, let it go. But I would say, go seek out the advice of a competent therapist or a close confidant, like a family member or friend. Or you could ask your wife, give me a number. Do you need 6 months, a year? I need some sort of a sense of closure on this, or, some sort of a boundary set. So ask her if she can make some sort of definition, makes a decision to decide, like, by April of 2018, I'll know for sure whether I want to get back together with you. Meyer lay down and he dived in the fear of death and got released from it. He never felt fear again. Yeah, well, when he died and people said, Ramana, don't leave me. He said, leave you? Where could I go? I'm always here in spirit. So he was a very evolved soul. I hope that answers your question. Again, type that in Google. Ativan. Well, yeah, Ativan, lorazepam. That's the most commonly prescribed minor tranquilizer out there. Maybe only Klonopin or Xanax are second to it. But yes, that is something. Now, Perla Ibanda, you have to realize that you can't depend on this lorazepam or Ativan every day, because then you'll become dependent on it. So it has to be used, in a pinch, and you have to find other ways through behavior and thinking and breathing and physiology to avoid that panic or nip it in the bud. Ativan is a wonderful thing, but please don't rely on it, because that's how people develop what's called benzodependence. And when they try to come off benzodiazepines, it's often really difficult. Some people describe it as a nightmare. So so use the Ativan as needed. So again, wanted to let you know one more time about my Patreon page. Some of you YouTubers have been very, very generous in going to it. With those funds, I can actually continue to afford to have these videos going. And here's the address one more time: patreon.com/Douglas Block. Sipchi says, I've been on lorazepam. It's addictive, and when you want to come off it, it's very bad. Well, that's exactly what I was saying, Sipchi. I'm sorry, I don't even know how to pronounce your name. I'm doing the best I can, but yes, that's what I've been trying to tell Perla Ibanda, that Ativan is a double-edged sword, that you can get dependent upon it, and it can be very difficult to come off. So IY, did you actually come off the lorazepam? Are you now coping with that? I'd like to know. What's the most dramatic recovery from depression or anxiety you've seen? How did the recovery come about? I'd say it's my own. I'd say it's in my book. In 1997, I went to my spiritual community living in Richmond Center, and 12 people gathered in a room. Thank you, Arcade Cup. I always appreciate your dollar contribution. You know, hey, every penny counts when we're dealing with this. I wonder where Robert Teague was. A couple of weeks ago, he contributed $50 because one of my suicide prevention videos saved his life. So, you know, this work is very, very important, as I'm sure you know. She says, I'm off every antidepressant. Yes, but lorazepam is not an antidepressant, it's an anti-anxiety drug. I wanted to know if you're off that also. Good for me, Douglas, yes. Connie, when you're in a better balance, you should find something that makes you happy and relaxed, so you can use that as a crutch and start to take less medicine. Sarah Hall, I agree with you. The idea is to use medicine only when it's absolutely necessary. You know, these medications are good for emergency situations, for acute situations, but essentially we have to use our thinking, our feeling, our cognition, our lifestyle habits to help us keep even keel as much as we can and depend on those. I still haven't heard from anybody about their goals in 2018, except for Brian W., so pipe in. OGIH, you're new. Do some antipsychotic medications actually cause depression? I've noticed my mood negatively affected by them. So OGIH asks an important question. Well, it's interesting. Seroquel, which is a major anti-anxiety drug, antipsychotic drug, some people think helps depression. So one man's meat's another man's poison. But antipsychotics are meant to tamp down psychotic or delusional thoughts, and they do sedate you. They are, in a sense, a depressant. So yes, I could see how they could cause depression, absolutely. But better to be depressed than delusional or paranoid or, you know, thinking you're God, or, you know, going ahead and trying to walk on water. I mean, all the things that people get in trouble with when they're psychotic. So the antipsychotics do have their place, but they could increase depression, but some people they don't. So it really depends on the individual. Sipchi says, I've been on citalopram, also known as, I forgot the name of it. My God, Lexapro, what is it? Celexa. So you've been on Celexa, the ones that lead you, Doug, on severe depression. Well, what about Celexa? Was it helpful, Sipchi? I'd like to know. I seem to be attracted by people who I can't won't have me, and the ones that are interested, I run for the hills. Maybe I'm seeking perfection. You might have a fear of intimacy, Arcade Cup. It might be because of the conditioning you had from your upbringing. It's hard to know. I'm going to have a piece of gum right now. My goal is not to have GAD or clinical depersonalization, live free and happy with my kids. Well, a worthwhile goal, Pearlie, but I'm going to keep writing that down and thinking about it every day. That will definitely get you at least closer there, as well as learning some coping tools. I hope you, when you get out of the hospital, you see some sort of therapist. Sipchi says he was on Celexa. It didn't solve the problem. Well, you know, antidepressants, you have to try them and see how they work, you know. You never know until you actually take them. Chewing my gum, sorry guys. Keep asking your question. The name of the video, by the way, I did about 10 days ago, was called 4 Words That Can Save Your Life. And those 4 words are, this too shall pass. How many of you before have been in a situation where you absolutely feel like there's no hope, there's nothing you can do, and there's no way out, you're suicidal, you think that nothing, you know, things will never get better, and it turns out they do. That I've seen that in virtually every single client I've worked with. They come to a point in the depression where they're convinced they'll never get better. 4 words, this too shall pass. The only thing in life that's constant is change. Look at the seasons. Look how night follows day and day follows night. We're in winter here now. There's no leaves on the trees. In about 5 months, leaves will come back. The cycles of life. To everything there's a season, said Ecclesiastes and the Birds, right? The rock group who turned that into a song. So yeah, if you're in a down state right now, I can guarantee you one thing, it won't last forever. My goal, says GIH, is to get off meds that make me feel like trash. What meds are you on, OGIH, besides the antipsychotics? Okay, Arcade Cup says, any inspirational movies to watch on New Year's Day Eve? Maybe I'll go to Star Wars. Yeah, Star Wars is supposed to be the best one that's been put out since the first one, so that's a good thing. You've already seen It's a Wonderful Life. I'd recommend It's a Christmas Carol, the one in 1951 with Alistair Sim, and of course I'd recommend Groundhog Day, my all-time favorite movie about the transformation of the individual. Brian W., if I ever come to Washington, D.C., let me know. I'll buy you a lunch or drink. Yes, I'd love to go to Washington, D.C. to see the Lincoln Memorial, the African American Museum, the Vietnam Memorial, the Holocaust Museum. My God, I could spend a week there just going to some amazing museums. Oh, can I crash on your floor? That'd be great. Rudy is inspirational. What is Rudy, Brian W.? Is it a film? Must be. What's it about? Why do I think I'm dying 24/7? That's your anxiety, Pearly Bonda. How can you stop that? I would say acupuncture. I would say medication every now and then, and just learning to refute thoughts when they come up and say, no, that's not true. I'm not dying. That's just my catastrophizing thought, and keep challenging those thoughts as much as you can. Doug, you may disagree with me, says Sipsy, but I believe that depression and all mental health issues have a real cure. Yeah, I do disagree with you in the sense that, well, I think they can be managed and you can live a really good life with depression or anxiety. But in terms of cure, meaning like, my chicken pox was cured when I was 8, meaning I'll never get it again. I've never seen anybody with depression get out of it forever. It always comes back in some form. So if you could, hey, Kevin McCourt, how's it going from the UK? Are you feeling any better? A couple of weeks ago, you got some really good support here on this channel. What are you doing for New Year's Eve? Matter of fact, what are all of you guys doing for New Year's Eve? It's happening in my part of the town in 11 hours and 22 minutes. So wherever you are, let me know. Wow, Rudy's about a movie about a Notre Dame football player that keeps getting rejected but keeps going and wins. What is he rejected from? Is he rejected from making the team, or what? Give me more specifics, Brian W. Anyway, I just heard something on Freakonomics Radio from this woman named Angela Duckworth, who's got a psychologist at the University of Pennsylvania who's written a book called Grit. And she talks about, true genius is the ability to push on in spite of obstacles. So, yes. You know what Zig Ziglar said, the great motivational speaker? A big shot is just a little shot who kept on shooting. Pretty cool. More goals. Mike Borden says, some goals are to continue to try to build my self-esteem and feel self-worth from within, not just use outside sources to build myself up, which is only a temporary fit. Absolutely. Making team and going to school there. That's what he overcame. Very cool. Are you still there, Julie Hayes? I want to know how you're doing. Thank you again one more time. This is what Julie sent me. Rising from the ashes. Isn't that an absolutely amazing picture? All right. Let's see if we can find a joke. What did the neurosurgeon say before he performed a routine surgery? This is a no-brainer. I made that up. What do you think? OGIH. Tell me if I can pronounce your name differently. I take lithium and Latuda. Well, they're both mood stabilizers. I know you need a mood stabilizer, but I don't like antipsychotics. Well, you're not on antipsychotics. Lithium is a mood stabilizer, and so is Latuda. They're both good drugs. Are you diagnosed with manic depression, OGIH? I'd like to know what your diagnosis is, if you feel confident in letting us know. My New Year's goal, says Sarah Hall, is to start over. To start to wear and do things that make me happy. I also want to go on walks around my local creek. That sounds like a great idea, walks around the creek. Sarah Hall, where do you live? What part of the country? I'd really like to know. I always like to know where my listeners or viewers are coming from. David Starkweather, have we seen you before? Sip J, be wary of scam treatments that waste your time, rip you off to tell you can hear you in one session and spunk. David, thanks for bringing it up. Could you mention some scam treatments you're referring to? I'd like to know what they are, just in case some of my clients think about embarking on them. So let me know the specifics. Julie Hayes, I'm having my ups and downs. At least I'm having some ups. I've been on Wellbutrin for 5 weeks. I think it's helping me some. Well, I've been on Wellbutrin ever since I got out of the hospital, and it's definitely helping me. So keep up the good work, Julie. And I still want to know how you got that picture on wood. Brian W. says, Douglas, how are your depression support groups? We have a Monday, we have a Tuesday group. We have 10 people on Monday and 11 people on Tuesday, and we have 2 people wanting to get in each group. The normal limit is 10, so they're really filled up right now, which is a blessing because these people help each other. I don't do anything. I just hold a space for community, and the group members do all the rest. Maybe you should start a depression support group, Brian W., in Washington, D.C. Sounds like you're pretty sophisticated. You know a lot of tools. What do you think of that? OGI says, I do have bipolar indeed, and you can pronounce it OG. Great, thank you. That's not your real name, but of course, ghee, G-H-E, is a name in Hindu for clarified butter, but I think that's not what you're referring to. Live in Missouri. Well, you know what? Brian says I'm a saint. I had a good friend who I was also not working. He thought I was a bum. So he called me Saint Bumedict, which is sort of a play on Saint Benedict, one of the great saints of the Catholic Church. So just call me Saint Bumedict, B-U-M-E-D-I-C-T. I like that name. The person who gave me that name has since passed on. So when I hear about it, I think of him. So can you do that, Brian W? Call me Saint Bumedict. I'll even spell it for you, just so you can have it. B-U-M-E-D-I-C-T. Here it is, Saint Bumedict. Do you think neurolinguistic programming is a pseudoscience, David Starkweather? God, I know a lot of psychologists use it. Tony Robbins wrote a book called Unlimited Power about it. Tell me why you think it's a pseudoscience. Milton Erickson created it, and he was a pretty smart guy. So, Kevin, I've had that thought too. I don't really. What did Kevin say? I'm not quite sure what thought you had. Can you explain to me? Oh, Kevin, I missed your. God, I don't know how to get these things. How to move these live chats to earlier questions. So if somebody could help me figure that out. But Kevin, what did Kevin say? Julie, I want to know. Oh, that's how you do it. Okay. I think Kevin says, I would keep wishing I think I had no family, so I wouldn't feel bad about killing myself. It's just more of a weird thought than anything. Well, I'm glad you feel bad about killing yourself, Kevin, because killing yourself is not a solution, believe me, especially since I believe in reincarnation. You got to come back and finish up what you didn't do. So if your family is keeping you alive, I think that's a really good thing. So that's just my personal opinion. But yeah, trying to move this thing up, move it to there we go. So Kevin, hang in there. Things can get better. Watch my video, 4 words that can save your life. Sipchi says, thanks, David. I think I believe that I am cured, not by someone else. Of course I helped along the way. Doug is one of them. Well, thank you, Sipchi. Tell me how to pronounce your name. I don't currently feel that way now. Yeah, good. Well, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Let me tell you, I've been there. And my clients have been there, and they've all come out of it. So please hang in there. Read the book Feeling Good by Dr. David Burns for dealing with negative and suicidal thoughts. Well, Feeling Good is a classic, Brian W. Yes, I'd recommend that book to everybody here who's listening right now. Feeling Good by David Burns. Freedom Rivers, you're a new person here. Can a person get a dysthymia much like later depression, or will dysthymia linger on? That's an excellent question, Freedom Rivers. I went ahead and made a video called Dysthymia, Living with Low-Grade Chronic Depression. So that's kind of my answer. It's that it's a temperamental thing. But I don't think it ever goes away totally. But still, okay, so you're a little melancholic, but you can have breaks. You can, go run and feel great. You can go to a good movie and feel happiness. You can share a good meal There are lots of times during the day, even if you have dysthymia, which is low-grade depression, that you can come out of it and feel joy and pleasure and excitement and enthusiasm. So even though it's kind of the default position, it's not like major depression. When you're majorly depressed, you can't feel pleasure for anything. You couldn't buy pleasure. Am I right, people who've been there? So with dysthymia, it's much less severe, so you can come up for a breath of fresh air. Suicidal thoughts are lies. Remember that, says Julia Hayes. Absolutely. They tell you you're never going to get better, it's hopeless. That is a lie. You know, when I was in that state, my minister friend says, how do you know it's hopeless? How do you know you're never going to get better? I said, because I know. I know from the inside. It is so apparent. Well, guess what? I was wrong. What I felt was so sure was my dysfunctional, dysregulated, chemically imbalanced brain telling me that I was done with it. So you're absolutely right. Those thoughts are lies. Thank you, Julie Hayes. Remember that yourself if you ever go back there. Sarah Hall, I noticed I've been feeling very dull recently. I don't really feel good or bad. I mostly feel empty and worthless. I stopped self-ruminating, but it's hard not to go back to that. Well, please don't. Sarah, have you tried kicking up the endorphins with intense exercise? That really helps you get out of that dull place. It's 46 minutes after the hour. We have 21 people watching. Thank you for being here. New Year's Eve is coming upon me in 11 hours. How are you guys dealing with it? You guys in Britain, the UK, you know, it's almost 9 o'clock there, 3 hours to go. What are you going to do for New Year's Eve? Shashank Mishra says, please guide me how to stop medication. Genetic depression runs in my family. Well, if that's the case, why do you want to stop the medication? If you have genetic depression, you want some medication to help you, don't you? That would be very, very helpful, I think. So that's what I would recommend. Hold on for a second. I'm going to turn this light a little bit off. It's a little bit intense over here. I'm going to move it a little further away. Another joke. What did the skeleton say before eating? Bon appetit. Don't you love puns? I think to the extent that neurolinguistic programming works, it's more like a form of what it shares with legitimate therapies like CBT. Well, you might be right. I mean, all therapies work on replacing negative thoughts with positive ones, so I would agree with you there. So if you want to get off medication, Shashank, do it with your doctor. Don't stop cold turkey and don't do it on your own. You can run into trouble that way. Shipji says, I had an emotional healing process. I didn't run from my feelings. I didn't suppress them like anymore. It's hard to feel those negative emotions, but they get released. I'm off all drugs. I'm out of all drugs. Well, good work, Shipji. If you could release your emotional pain that way organically, you've done a great thing. By the way, what's your diagnosis, Shipji? Is it clinical depression? Mike Borden says, Sarah, when I was in that state, I tried to think about anything in my past that made me feel some joy. It seemed to help a bit. That's absolutely right. You can do that. When you think about stuff in your 12 pi, 12 dude, have you got PS? Well, I have no idea what that means, 12 pi. I don't know what PS2 is, so you'll have to basically make that more known. Yes, so that's right, Mike Bordner. We have something called a library of positive memories. At any point, we can dip into the past and remember something pleasurable and bring it into the present, because the mind cannot tell the difference between something imagined and something real. You have clinical depression, generalized anxiety disorder. Join the club, Shipchi. That's exactly what I have. GAD and clinical depression. Your common colds of mental illnesses. 55 million people with anxiety disorders, another 28 million people with depression. Wow, that's like a fourth of the population of the United States. Shashank says, sir, then about the side effects of any particular exercise or anything that you would recommend to cope with genetic family? Yeah, I would definitely say the literature shows, go look at my video, Does Exercise Really Heal Depression? Aerobic exercise. Get your heart to 80% of its regular maximum and get for 16 minutes and draw a sweat. When you do that, chemical changes occur in your brain, endorphins are released, and more importantly, it creates something called neurogenesis, the creation of new brain cells. People didn't think that was possible before, but now it is possible. So yes, neurogenesis will be created if you exercise and exercise well. So that's what I would recommend, and exercise not well, intensely enough so your heart is beating and you're breaking a sweat and you're working at it. That's what you can do. Wow. Oh, gee, I'm not sick. I don't need help. My dad really likes it. Yes, that's a great book. How did you find out about that book? Very few people know about that book. It's about what happens when people have thought disorders like schizophrenia. They have something called anosognosia. No insight into the fact that they're ill or they have a problem. So why would you need help if you don't think you're ill? That's a really difficult thing to go after. And when a person has a thought disorder like schizophrenia, that book gives you some very practical ideas of what to do. Hopefully you don't have psychosis, do you? I hope not. But yes, that is an amazing book. It's named this. I think the man has a name from the Middle East. Ashar. What's the name of the author? Can you remind me? OG? I'd appreciate it. Yeah, David Starkworth says the one thing that matters is whether the tool works wherever it comes from. You're absolutely right. And we have to be pragmatists here. We have to use what works. I'm out, Doug. Hey, I hope everyone gets released from these crippling states. Yes, and can you, thank you for participating. I'm glad you did your emotional healing. I hope your new year brings you more emotional healing. And I hope you're released from the pain of depression, as we all are. Do I think I inherited depression from my parents, says Ryan W. Do I think I know? Both of my parents suffer from depression. My mother was hospitalized 5 times and got electroconvulsive therapy 5 times. My grandfather was depressed. Oh my God, yes, it runs in my family. Thank you for the question. It's obvious if you grew up in my household. Writing poems seems to help sometimes. When I put everything that happened that day into writing, bad or happy, it clears my head a bit and I feel things make sense. Yes, absolutely. That's called journal therapy. Writing poetry is a wonderful, you feel safe, if that makes sense. Yes, of course you feel safe, Sarah Hall. Bibliotherapy, well, that's reading books. I'm not quite sure what writing therapy is. Journaling. Yes, writing things down is a good way to discharge pain and trauma and to discharge them. Amador Xavier, thank you, OG. Wow, you're amazing. Yes, Amador. Well, it sounds, I guess it's more Greek than anything, but it sounds Middle Eastern. Julia Hayes says, I almost forgot to mention this. Hypnosis has helped a lot. What kind of hypnosis have you sought? And what have been the post-hypnotic suggestions that helped you? Thanks, Doug. Thanks, bye. Sipchi, we'll see you next year on Wednesday and Sunday at 12 noon, from 12 to 1 every week. 2 days a week we have live chats. Bye, Sipchi. It was great having you here. Julie Hayes, lesson I learned this year, I cannot function without meds. I went off medication maybe this year and I've been depressed with 2 hospitalizations, doing better now. Wow. So Julie Hayes, what medication you're on? I guess sounds like you really need it. And what was I was going to type something down here for people, and now I completely forgot what it was. Thank you, Sashank Mishra. I'm glad I guess you're from India. You're one of my fans or viewers. If you want to express your appreciation, you can give a donation in the super chat. David Starkman says, well, thank you for Kevin McCourt. Appreciate it. Kevin, have you thought of joining my Patreon channel? You could contribute £2 a month, and that would be wonderful. Or $2 is what they start at in the U.S. Check out the Patreon account. I think you'd really appreciate it. It would give you a way to really help support this channel on an ongoing basis. Brian W. asked me if I've traveled to many countries. Well, some. I traveled to Mexico in my 20s, and then I went to, of course, been to Canada. I lived in England and Scotland in 1982. I visited Holland or the Netherlands. Been to Guatemala in 2006. Where else? Mexico, Guatemala. Passed through, of course, went to Paris in 2006. Also France. I mentioned I went to the Netherlands. About 6 or 7 countries. Guatemala. Yeah, not a whole lot, but enough to get me out of the States. Great live stream today, OG. Thanks for the feedback. Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's to you, OG. Thanks for telling me about, what's worked for you. And the book, remind me of that wonderful book. I'm not sick. I don't need help. A great book. Awesome. Julia Hayes says, I'm not saying all people need meds. I just hear a lot of people wanting to go off them. It's not a decision to take lightly. Julie Hayes, you are so on the money. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I want to go off my Wellbutrin. My nurse practitioner says over my dead body because I've had 5 breakdowns. Why should I risk a 6th, he says. So I guess I'm staying on it for the time being. So yes, you're right, Julie. It's not a decision to take lightly, going off your medication. Well, we've got another 5 minutes here. Sir, apart from allopathic medication, which pathy has good results in depression, like homeopathy, Ayurveda, both? I've heard both of them. What about acupuncture? That also helps. So yeah, Ayurvedic medicine is the medicine from your country, your home country. I would definitely look into it. You know, they deal with the emotional state as well as the physical and temperament. Happy New Year to you, Julie. Appreciate your thoughts. Happy New Year, Mike Bordner. Well, you're in the East Coast. It's 4 o'clock there, 8 more hours to go. I think you're in Texas, Julie, so you've got 9 more hours to go. Who's on that wall? Is it you, Doug? Okay, Josh, hold on. Okay, getting up. I'm going to take it down for you to see. I'll be right back. Give me a second. Here we go. Ramana Maharshi, isn't that an amazing picture? Look at that, look at those eyes. Have you ever seen eyes like that? That is a compassionate man, that's a self-realized being. So that's who that is, and I'm gonna have a picture by my side from now on because it would be really, really good to have that available for people so they can see it. Thank you so much for making your videos. They've helped me so much. Well, thank you so much, Innocent Millicent. Hey, I love it when things rhyme, Innocent Millicent. I'm glad you appreciate them. If you, sorry to sound like I'm selling something, but I do definitely want to have the funds to keep these going. So if you really appreciate them, one way you can show your appreciation, if I could ever get this thing to work, is to look at my Patreon page. So here it is again, Innocent Millicent. If you want to go to that link after the live chat, check it out. www.patreon.com/Douglas Block. And you can see, if you join for $2 a month, you can get all sorts of rewards like free ebooks and print books and specific live chats just for you and a few other people. So anyway, but I'm really glad that videos are helping. Thank you so much for mentioning that. Sorry, I'm not looking at the camera directly. Sorry about that. His Grace is Love. Wow, you just came in time. We're going off the air in 2 minutes. David Sarver says, Julie, right now, in my case, the med makes them apathetic. When I go off, I get really anxious with a bad headache. Not sure what to do. Well, I would take the apathy, David, over the headaches and anxiety. So maybe it's a trade-off. Maybe you can find something to counter the apathy like exercise. Happy New Year, says Shashank Mashira. Where'd you get your glasses from? Yeah, they're kind of cool, aren't they? A optometrist here in Portland, Oregon, down the street. Would you like me to look it up? You want maroon glasses now? You used to have them in 2004 Arcade Cup? Well, go to your local optometrist. I'll go ahead and find out the name of these and where you can order them for the next session, if you like. I need to get them adjusted anyway, Josh. So, by the way, if you want to write me, here, I haven't even shown this whole time. DouglasBlock@gmail.com. Send me your email, Josh, and I will give you a link to where to get these glasses. Another great stream, says Cade. Those flowers are Peng Uno. I thought they were lilies, actually. Tracy Luggett, I'm doing well. I'm about to, in 1 minute and 9 seconds, go out and take a walk during the sun. April Wagner, wow, better late than never. Are we going to see you? Where'd your hairline go? That's a very good question. It disappeared like my father's. Sorry, I wish I could paste it down. Can dizziness be a symptom of depression or anxiety? Definitely anxiety. All guys are coming on at the last minute. John Vandermeulen. Happy New Year, stay well. Brian, you're one of my biggest fans. Kate, how old are you? Don't go for a walk. Yeah, why not? Happy New Year, Douglas. Yes, so are we going to see you on Tuesday night, April, for our live chat? Maybe I'll give you a call. Nice shorts, Douglas. Not quite sure what the shorts are, but yes, thank you for your 42. Well, that's a nice young age. By the way, here he is one more time. In the next 22 seconds, look at this guy. Tell me if you wouldn't want to be like him in the new year. An amazing spiritual master, Ramana Maharshi. Alex Thomas, how old are you, big boy? If you're referring to me, I'm 68. 5, 4, 3. Now we have 28 people watching. God, when we started, we only had 16. Well, what can I tell you? At least I'm glad you guys came to the end. Cade, fly to me. Thanks, St. Benedict. Yes, very funny. Hello, Grant. Goodbye, Grant. 12 to 1. Wednesdays and Sundays for you late bloomers or late comers. Oh, I'll type this out here for you. Hold on. WED. Sundays, WD. Wednesdays, I don't know. I can't spell right now. Sundays and Wednesdays. Happy New Year, Garfunkel. Hello, Mac Rand. Turns out you can't scroll all the way back in the chat. You can actually. You just have to go ahead and hit the right button. You actually can do that. NESDAYS at noon. LIVE. That's where you get the live chats. When's your next chat, W? It's right there. I put it up. All you people, after we go off the line there, you can see that Sundays and Wednesdays at noon live chats, Pacific time, right? 8 hours from Greenwich. So it's 3 p.m. your time, Brian. There you have it, guys. I have no idea who Danny Denty is, Josh, so sorry about that. Can't answer your question. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I'm glad that you were able to make it. And I wish you all the best in the coming year. And Happy New Year. Thank you, Laura Shoemaker. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Brian W. Thank you, all you people. And until we meet again, I wish you the best in your mental health recovery. We'll talk to you next year, Wednesday, January 3rd. Hasta luego.